warm welcome to this lecture series on organizational behavior. We are on the 6th chapter on emotions at workplace. We are in the second section of the lecture in this chapter. We'll quickly summarize what happened in the previous lecture. We looked at how emotions play a very important role in human's life. We also looked at how most emotions are universal in nature, even though the expression of emotions may vary from culture to culture. We also looked at the role of emotional intelligence, or the capacity of people to manage their emotions well. We also looked at two different types of emotions which are targeted towards oneself and emotions which are targeted towards external objects or people or events. We also looked at another related concept which is called mood. So mood is a very generic state which can be positive or negative. For example, sometimes we feel irritable or low or happy without any specific reason. Mood has a very strong influence on the way how we look at things and how we behave, especially in work context. And when we are in good mood, usually we remember good things, positive things. Okay. We also looked at why emotions are important in workplace. We looked at a concept called emotional contagion, which means emotions like common cold also spreads to people around us. Let's say, for example, in workplace, if somebody shows positive emotions, others also acquire that positive emotions, even without knowing they are getting it. Emotional labor is, in most jobs, more specifically in service jobs, employees are expected to show positive emotions or certain kind of emotions to the consumers. So for example, hospitality industry like hotel, tourism, air stewards, so all those people are expected to show positive emotions to their clients. We also spoke about two ways in which people do it. One is superficially pretending to show those emotions, which is surface acting. Sometimes people may also get into deep acting. Deep acting means you act, but you pretend to show those emotions, but in a very deeper sense. There's a third level, which is you naturally feel those emotions and show those emotions. We looked at the advantage and disadvantages of pretending as well as showing natural emotions or showing emotions naturally. So one important problem which can happen is emotional dissonance, which means when there are inconsistencies in felt emotions and expressed emotions, which means you feel something but your job demands you to show a certain kind of emotion. So that can lead to emotional dissonance. If you remember, there's a similar dissonance we saw in the previous chapter, which is cognitive dissonance, which means when there are two different attitudes existing at the same time, it can lead to cognitive dissonance, which is a very disturbing thing for individuals. Similarly, emotional dissonance is also disturbing for people when they have it or when they face it. Emotional attachment at workplace is also a very important aspect of emotions in workplace. When people feel their workplace is a place where they encounter positive emotions, they tend to get emotionally attached to it. So when people feel they are happy in the workplace, their commitment level increases. They feel sad if they have to leave that organization. We also looked at work-family spillover, how emotions in work sphere can affect emotions in personal sphere and vice versa, and how to use this spillover effect in a positive way. For example, when somebody is not happy in personal sphere, they can perform well in the work sphere and take that positive energy to their personal space. Okay, so this is where we stopped in the previous lecture. This lecture we are going to talk about some of the important emotions which are common in workplace. Most of them are negative kind of emotions. So one set of emotions which are very similar are shame, humiliation, guilt and resentment. Shame is when someone feels inadequate in workplace, or if someone feels their capacity levels are low, they are not able to perform according to the demand of the work, they will feel shamed or they will feel shameful. It can also happen when your reputation is at stake. If you are, if something hurts your reputation, you will feel shameful. A similar emotion is humiliation. Humiliation is somebody puts you down. For example, if your teacher shouts at you, if your boss shouts at you in the presence of others, so you will feel humiliated. So humiliation happens when your self-respect is attacked, or if you feel there is a disgrace to your self-respect. Guilt is feeling bad about doing something wrong. So you would have violated some social standard or some social norm. So you will feel guilty. Something like reciprocity. Your friend helped you, but you didn't help that friend in return. You will feel guilty. Sometimes this guilty can be, it can be created by the other person. For example, there may not be a real reason, but your colleague may say that you didn't help him when there is a need. So you may feel guilty. Okay, so people may manipulate others' emotions also. Kind of emotional blackmail can also create guilt among people. So if you remember, I was talking about Machiavellianism in one of those chapters, chapter on personality more specifically. So Machiavellians use this guilt effectively to take advantage of others. So they will create guilt, or they will make others feel guilty and use that guilt in their advantage. So this may be very common in workplace when someone is a Machiavellianistic kind of a person. Resentment is mild form of hate. So there is some level of unhappiness and that causes hatred. For example, your bonus is delayed, your boss or your subordinate is not cooperative, so it may lead to resentment. Another important emotion in workplace, or even a very common emotion for many individuals, is anger. Okay, anger or aggression. So many of us find it difficult to control anger, because anger is a very charged emotion or a very extreme kind of emotion, and the kind of effect it has on ourselves and others is severe or very intense. So one way to look at anger is unnecessary. If you are feeling anger, more than affecting others, it affects you. So that is one way of looking at it. Similarly, anger can lead to unfavorable consequences most of the times for ourselves. So anger is bad. That is one viewpoint, and it is correct also. But it's not that anger is bad or aggression is bad. Aggression is harmful. Aggression is like an energy, like any other energy. And if you use that energy positively, you can show better results. This is like a Freudian viewpoint. We all have Eros and Thanatos. Thanatos is like death energy or aggression. So if you use it properly, you can, create many positive things. So the other viewpoint is, it's not that aggression is wrong. For what is the cause of your anger? That decides whether anger is right or wrong. If you're aggressive, or if you're getting anger because for a social cause, then your anger is justified. You're angry because people are living in poverty, or there is like corruption, or there is favoritism. So if that leads to anger, or if you see that there is injustice, so for others, not you, there is injustice for others. So if that leads to aggression, it is good. So aggression may not necessarily be active, which means when we think about aggression, we think of that earlier picture I showed, someone shouting like this. So aggression not necessarily means, people has to shout and, burst or explode. Sometimes aggression can also be very passive. So, in fact, many times this kind of passive aggression can be more harmful than active aggression. Because if there is active aggression, if somebody shouts at you, you will know this person has some, he is not agreeing with you. So you can talk to that person and convince that person. But if someone is not showing aggression, but there is aggression against you, if they do these sorts of things, you may not even know who's doing it, and the problem will not be resolved. So this is called passive aggression. Passive aggression never helps in resolving a problem. At least active aggression, there is an opportunity for you to know there is a problem. Okay. So why does aggression happens? More specifically in workplace. And these reasons are also, or these types of aggression is common in other social aspects also, but more specifically in workplace, these are some of the types of aggression. The first type of aggression is threat-based aggression, which means you feel threatened, or you feel there is the other person is going to cause you harm. Okay, it may be real. It may be real or it may be perceived. So mostly it stems out from fear. You fear that the other person will harm you. You fear that the other person is treating you badly. You fear that the situation will lead to some problem in your work. So you tend to get aggressive. Okay. So there can be a real stimulus or it can be a perceived stimulus. Like I said, it can be a true reason, or it can be you are imagining there is a reason or there is a threat. So, but anyway, you perceive there is something outside or someone outside who is threatening you. So, this is threat-based aggression. Irritable aggression is threat-based aggression can be resolved by negotiation. If you know that the other person is a threat, he is a competitor, he or she is a competitor, or he or she is not sharing resources with you, not sharing information with you, your colleague or your subordinate. So that can lead to threat-based aggression. So if that is the case, you can resolve it through talking to them, clarifying with them, or understanding why they are doing it. So it can be resolved. The second form of aggression is irritable aggression. Irritable aggression is there is some disturbance or there is some pain or irritation. For example, the entire day it was a very stressful day. The workload is very high, or there is no power in your office, or at home there is some problem, or when you commuted to workplace there was a bad traffic jam and you had a fight with someone. Okay, so all these pent up emotions or pent up irritability can explode as an aggression. If you see, many a times people shout at their family members because they were stressed in workplace, like spillover effect, or other way around. They would have gotten into a bad traffic jam, they'll come and shout at their subordinates in workplace. So this is irritable aggression. So how can you resolve this aggression? Maybe by techniques like breathing techniques, relaxation techniques, or just sitting for 5 minutes and calming yourself. So those type of things can work. Frustration based aggression is when you feel, or when you have a certain goal and you are moving towards the goal and you feel something or someone is stopping you from achieving that goal. Okay, for example, you wanted, or your goal is to get a promotion. Okay, and you are like working hard, but your boss is not giving you good appraisal. He or she is not giving you good performance review. Okay, so you will feel frustrated and you will feel aggressive towards that boss. So whichever stops you from achieving your goal, you feel aggressive towards that. Let's say you are standing in a queue, waiting to buy something. Suddenly somebody cuts the queue because this person is delaying your goal achievement, we tend to shout at this person. Okay, so this is frustration based aggression. So how to resolve frustration based aggression? So if there is many times this threat or something which stops you from achieving your goal, like a threat based aggression, many times it can be perceived. You perceive this person is a threat, or this person is stopping me from achieving my goal, but may not necessarily. Okay, so when you get aggressive, even if it is real, even if there is a real barrier which stops you from achieving your goal, it can be a person, it can be a situation, getting aggressive is not going to help. If you get aggressive, what will happen? Entire thing gets spoiled. Okay, so instead, and you also get affected. When you get aggressive, you lose sight of your goal. Your goal becomes that barrier. You want to bash that barrier. You want to destroy that barrier. You want to harm that barrier, which is not going to help you to achieve your goal. So what can be done? If this path doesn't work, instead of hitting your head in that path, if it is blocked, think about taking another road. See whether you can cross that barrier without causing much harm to yourself and to others. Okay, so this again requires a lot of patience, self-talk, looking at things in a different manner, out of the box thinking and things like that. So the last kind of aggression is instrumental aggression. In fact, this is a very harmful kind of aggression because there is no real reason to be aggressive. There are some people who use aggressive behavior to achieve their goal. Especially boss shouting at subordinates to show that they have more power. Just to show their power, just to achieve something, they show aggressive. This is like bullying. You bully others, or you try to put others down so that in the eyes of others you look as a big person. So these are instrumental aggression, and people do it just for the sake of doing it. There's some level of these are like dogmatism. If you remember the personality chapter, dogmatic behavior. They show aggression just to get more power. So how to resolve it? They have to understand this is not correct, or they should know doing this for long run will not going to help them. So if you are working in an organization, if you are making enemies out of your subordinates, it's not going to help you in long run. You may, for temporarily, you may be seen as a powerful person, but in long run, people will not cooperate with you or help you, will not consider you as a leader. Okay, so one alternative for aggression is assertiveness. So I'll give an example. Let's say your subordinate or your colleague in workplace or your friend in your college, you told a confidential information to that friend because you trust that friend very much, because you know that friend for a long period of time, very close friend. You told a confidential information which should not be shared with others to this friend. After a few days, you hear some other people talking about that information. So you know that you are the only person who knows that information, and the only person with whom you have shared that information is your friend. And now everybody knows. So what will you know? What will you think? My friend would have leaked that information. Okay. So your friend has breached the confidence, or your friend has broken the trust. So what can you do? Okay. Some people, first option, stop sharing information with your friend. That trust is broken. You will not share information in future. And also probably we can give false information to your friend so that he will go and share with others and he will look like an idiot in front of others. So that is one. 2, keep quiet, do nothing. Okay, continue with your friend as same. You don't want to ask this to your friend and spoil your friendship, because your friend may feel, how can you cannot prove it. So you cannot prove that your friend has leaked this information. So your friend will say, how come why are you mistrusting me? How can you mistrust me? Okay, so it will break your friendship. So keep quiet. First, quietly try to cut the friendship. 2, continue your friendship. 3, you can go and shout to your friend, why did you do this? You are a cheat. I trusted you. That is 3. 4 is you can go and talk to your friend. You can ask him, this is what has happened. What happened? You can ask why or how come everybody knows. I thought I only told you, but now everybody knows. What happened? Okay. So this is the 4th option, which is assertiveness. The first option is passive aggression. You are showing aggression indirectly by cutting the friendship. 2 is you are passive. You are not reacting anything. 3 is showing aggressive, active aggression. 4th is assertiveness. You go and talk to that person and try to understand what happened. So this is what is assertiveness. So why it is important to show assertiveness, especially in close relationships, instead of showing aggression, is you are placing both the people, you and the relationship, in the same level. You are respecting you and also the relationship. So if you are keeping quiet, you are putting the other person in a higher plane than you. Okay, so you are taking the pain and keeping quiet and continuing. In that case, the other person is kept above you. Your friend, you don't want to break the friendship. You feel insecure to break the friendship. So you put your friend in a higher plane. If you shout, or if you passively aggressive, you are putting yourself above than your friend. You are not giving that friend an option to clarify. Probably in this situation, somebody who gave you that information, your boss gave you that information, he would have leaked that information, or there might be other sources which would have led to leakage of information, the confidential information. So if you don't clarify unnecessarily, the relationship is going to break, and that too a close friendship. Okay, so that is why it is very important to be assertive. Why people don't show assertiveness? It's very easy to show aggression or be passive. Okay, why people don't show assertiveness? One, insecurity. Insecurity because if I ask people, people will think I am like complaining always, or they may feel they'll break the relationship, or how will I go and ask? I don't have the guts to go and ask. Okay, these are insecurity. It can be rejection, fear of rejection. You fear that if I ask, they will reject my relationship. Or if you ask, they will think, like I said, oh, even the smallest thing you're coming and asking. They'll think you are very weak. Okay. Being humiliated, they will put you down, or embarrassed. Okay, so many times if something hurts you, it's always better to go and clarify with others instead of keeping quiet. Okay, and you should respect you and also the other person. Only then you'll be assertive. Otherwise, it will lead to aggressiveness. Okay, I'll stop here. Next class we'll talk about another important aspect of negative emotions in workplace, which is stress. Okay, so we'll talk about how stress affects behavior in workplace, how to manage stress and things like that. Till then, take care. See you in the next lecture.